Y'all, I did it. I have discovered the truth. I have found a movie where Sean Bean does not die. This is the 2005 film Flight Plan, starring Jodie Foster. And I've kind of discovered something about myself. I really enjoy plane movies. Movies that take place on an airplane. Which is ironic because I'm scared shitless of flying. I hate it. We're talking cold sweats, the shakes. But you put a thriller movie on an airplane, I'm here for it. Anyways, so what's this about? So Jodie Foster and her husband were propulsion engineers. They helped design the big engines that go on airplanes. Particularly, they were working on this one aircraft, which I'm assuming is bigger than a Dreamliner. Like, it's humongous. It's got 2 levels. Whatever, they were some kind of plane engineer, and they lived in Germany. Well, her husband fell off of a roof, or we think he fell off of a roof, and he died. Well, she's taking his body home to the United States in his casket so that he can be buried. And she's bringing their 6-year-old Julia. Well, according to the mortician, the FAA says that all caskets have to be locked in order for plane transport. So it's got like a pin code locky boy on it. So they get on this big ass plane, but this big ass plane only has 400 people on it, which would sound like a lot, but given how many empty seats there were on this fucking plane, I can't imagine they're not losing money on how much gas they're using to put on this plane and only lugging like maybe half the plane's worth. But that's not important. But anyways, because there were so many empty spots, Jodie Foster put Julia in a row by herself so that she could lay down and take a nap. And Jodie Foster could take a little nappy nap. Well, Jodie Foster wakes up and her daughter is nowhere to be seen. She's going up and down aisles, she's looking everywhere, she's trying to get the flight crew to help look, but they seem to really not want to help her look for her kid. And then she's trying to talk to the captain to tell him that he has to land the plane because we have a missing child, and he's like, no, I don't want to do it. But that's because none of the other passengers saw a little girl. So apparently nobody has seen this little girl on this plane. The only one that knows that she exists apparently is Jodie Foster. And they pull the little flight log thingy, the manifest, whatever you want to call it, and she's nowhere on it. So the captain's like, no, we're not going to fucking pull over for a passenger that doesn't exist. But we're going to have the flight crew look for her. And if there's any sign, if somebody says they remember her, I'll pull the fucking plane over and we will look for her. Well, the crew half-ass looked. And I do mean half-ass. They were too busy fucking in a bunk instead. And Jodie Foster, being a flight engineer, specifically a flight engineer that worked on this damn plane, said, hey, check the avionics, which is the big control room with all the pretty wires. And the flight crew was like, no, she's not there. And then they wouldn't let Jodie Foster go down into the luggage bay because it's like a liability or some shit. And then, now remember, this is 2005. There was a lot going on internationally in 2005, and I think that's why this was written in. But she accused 2 men of Middle Eastern descent of stalking and watching her daughter through their bedroom window the night before, and accused them of stealing Julia. To which this man who looked like Paul Blart Mall Cop started attacking them. And then the captain comes out and he's like, I just got a message from the hospital in Germany. Your daughter died with your husband. And she's like, she wasn't on the fucking roof. What are you talking about? So they think that she's having some kind of breakdown, and then they make her sit back in the aisle where another passenger is actually a therapist. She's trying to help her work through grievance. But then Jodie Foster looks at the window and she can see the little heart her daughter made, like in the glass. So she knows she's a fucking live. So she climbs through a ceiling thingy in the bathroom and gets down into the cargo bay. And she starts looking through there, and she goes down and she starts opening the coffin for her husband to see if maybe they were right and it was actually her daughter, but it wasn't, it was actually her husband. And then the air marshal takes her bag but leaves it unlocked and makes her sit back in the aisle with the flight attendant, and he goes back down there and pulls back like a hatch in the coffin, and there are devices that go in there. And he takes them over to the avionics section and plants them around the little girl that he kidnapped. And then he told the captain that Jodie Foster was hijacking and that she wanted some money, and that the whole thing was a charade to do that and cause chaos. So they landed the plane in Newfoundland, and they let everybody get off except the crew. And Jodie Foster figured out what was going on, so she pretended to act the part and get all the crew off, but then it's just her and the air marshal. Oh, and one of the flight attendants. We'll come to find out it was the mortician, the air marshal, and the flight attendant were all planning on hijacking this plane, and they were using the coffin to transport the devices. And Jodie Foster found her daughter, and the plane went... And then the whole plane saw that she actually had a daughter, because this whole thing has caused chaos. Everybody's involved at this point. Everybody's involved. And nobody thought she actually had a daughter. And they're like, oh shit. And Sean Bean was like, oh shit. And this was after she got yeeted into a plane seat and like busted her fucking face up and everybody clapped. And it looked like she'd gotten arrested. And they're like, wow, she never gave up. The end. Now, did I like it? This whole time, I did not expect that twist. I was like, damn, it's just a bunch of dudes telling a grieving mother that she's crazy. But surprise, she's not. I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10 because I still don't know what happened to her husband or why her husband was on the roof or whether or not he actually fell or the hijacker guy pushed him off just to set this whole damn thing up. And also points off for that one scene. It's 2005, so I'm not surprised that the situation was addressed. However, there were no apologies. There was no, I was wrong, nearly got these two men killed. And I'm still not 100% certain where she got that they were following them last night and watching them in the window. So 8 out of 10. Kiba. If I could, then I would. I'll go wherever you will go. Way up high.